a written update as well. Thank you, Adam.
Happy to. Introducing myself, Adam Necrason with Necrason Group, a state capitol government and public affairs firm. We are a team of professionals in the state capitol that work on different issues with different clients over time and are excited to be working with Dover and your community for some very specific advocacy around fairness in school funding. And here with me today, Amy Rubin, who I'm an associate with our firm. You know, I enjoy working with Amy, and she brings today, she's the eyes and ears in the room for me and us, literally in every hearing on this issue at the State House. And so, you know, which there are many of, because, and now going to my report, my intention with, you know, a 5-6 minute presentation is to basically level set, update you on where this issue is, and, you know, talk a little bit about where things are going next. And so the top line is, you know, clarity around the reform agenda, which is the purpose is to correct unfairness in the education funding formula for rural, economically disadvantaged English language learners and secondary level students. And so there's a cohort of Vermont students that state government studies have revealed are being harmed, getting less than their fair share of school funding. And, you know, it's important I note your local representative, Representative Sibilia, is a leading champion of this change, really making a pretty big difference in the state capitol. And what is different as I now go through this report is that, you know, her work and building coalition around the issue and sticking with it over time has produced a moment where now the issue has broken through at the State House to an understanding that there's a problem with the way things are working. And while that might not sound like a big deal, being on the state capitol agenda, which is a limited space, is an important step towards getting the change that we all are advocating for. And so, you know, jumping to the end, there's good news in this report because the issue is gaining traction in a really meaningful way, even though the current state of affairs is that the state capitol is moving towards an implementation task force where over the next 8, 9, 10 months, lawmakers would work to put together a package to bring to the 2022 legislature to try and advance implementing the actual meaningful changes that we're looking for. But let me back up and unpack that a little bit and run through some time. And so, refreshing your memory, there was the legislature, because of advocacy from communities, yours and others, put out to an expert study what's really going on here. Long story short, this really informed study gets brought to the state capitol over the last few years and says there's really problems in the weighting formula. Unfairness is now there. We're not meeting the promise of Brigham, equal education opportunity. Lawmakers over the last 2 years have moved to take action on that, but really struggled. And then COVID hit. And so that derailed the General Assembly. For the better and really leading America with innovation and speed, Vermont lawmakers, partly because they're so lightly staffed and are able to just jump on Zoom, have been able to kind of keep running the democracy engine and have been working pretty much nonstop since COVID hit. The consequence of COVID last year was that this issue was really starting to heat up in the Senate. And then when it got derailed, it went back to the drawing board. And so we went into this year needing to reinvigorate the capital commitment, or really grow it, And that was been the main project in January and February. Along those lines, Representative Sibilia introduced a really strong leading bill. A coalition of communities came together and started organizing the advocacy. Media affairs were deployed so that this would come out of the shadows and become more apparent as a real problem. And you can see in our report, all of, VPR, Vermont Digger, we have a problem. People are advocating solutions, op-eds from supporters. And this is all how change is made, folks, because I work in the business of that and coordinated advocacy and defining a problem so that state lawmakers can work towards a solution and feel supported, that it's meaningful, is kind of the secret to change in Vermont. And this is now underway because so now we have these stories, it's underway. So the Senate gets to this session and says, basically this UVM report goes on tour all over the State House. Maybe a dozen hearings in January and February on this is a problem. Meanwhile, Representative Sibilia is going to the House floor, pushing amendments and bringing a lot of intensity to, we're going to do something here. So House leadership and House caucus colleagues are like, hey, we find that energy infectious. We want to join that charge. And so all of a sudden we see the Secretary of Education come into the story in February and say, slow down. You can't just legislate that we're going to fix this. We don't have the capacity because of COVID and various other versions of, don't give this to me. The Senate, Senator Campion, new chair of Education Committee, Senator Bruce, the champion of this change in the Senate. Honestly, I've worked a lot of hearings, 25 years, and Senator Bruce went into this hearing in the beginning of this issue in late January or February and used very clear language about the unfairness in a way that was really stark and validating for your community, and Representative Sibilia's advocacy, because you had a completely different part of the state saying this isn't okay. So the Secretary of Education comes in, says, slow down, COVID's hitting, the crossover's coming. The Senate decides, we can't do nothing. We can't go all the way. Let's create legislation that'll create an implementation task force. Links to that are in the report. I would encourage you, if you want to see what that legislation looks like, to check it out. Where we are now is that has passed the Senate. And I would want you to, if you read Senator Campion's statement, it's really a distillation of how the Senate sees this. Basically says, we all agree there's a problem. We want to try and fix it. We're going to do this task force that's about implementation, not study. Now, as the plot thickens, it's week 13 of an 18-week legislative session. These federal resources that are coming, ARPA, they're called, American Rescue Plan. It's something of a tsunami of dollars. The governor today released a plan that's very focused on infrastructure development. Those dollars are multi-year, but as it relates to this issue, it's just a big distraction of limited energy. And so we have let's call it 6 weeks, 5 weeks of the rest of the legislative session. The Senate has passed this implementation task force. This coalition that you're part of has really grown into itself and has really strong advocacy. And where from here is what's next. The plot thickening part is the federal dollars come, they suck up energy, and they're confusing how they're going to integrate into these needs. Other pieces of legislation are passing. There's something about waiving the excess penalty for school construction. There's an Addison County Independent article that'll show you that's good if you were a winning town and you had a bunch of improvements all queued up. It's almost like the well-off get more well-off and those that were behind get penalized. So if it feels like there's some salt in this wound right now that's going to task force, that's because there is. And so there's a lot of heat coming. Meanwhile, there is a countervailing perspective that's the chair of House Ways and Means carries, that instead of fixing weighting formulas, I'm almost near the end. I'm watching the time. I'm thinking I'm doing okay time-wise because we're rapid. And there's a countervailing thinking that maybe we don't want to fix this with these formula changes. Maybe there's categorical aid that could go out it's the idea of, should we do some Band-Aids versus reopen education funding formulas, essentially. And I would want you to read that in this report, because you can see on the one hand, on the other hand, which is the nature of the state capitol. Tension is natural. There's different philosophies. You know, where from here, maybe Representative Sibilia has a freer hand in this setting to kind of talk a little bit about. For my part, as a consultant to your community, I want you to know your advocacy is meaningful. Vicki's testimony was seminal. It showed rural community, brought geographic diversity. Vicki carries a sense of history, credibility. And so, you know, while a lot of the passion and energy are coming from very energized communities right now, to have Dover's maturity on this issue, which goes all the way back to a storied time. But you're bringing incredible integrity to this conversation by saying, let the chips continue to fall where they may, but let's deliver this promise. And our kids are not getting it. So there's that. And it's got authenticity. And Vicki brought that voice to the Senate. Representative Sibilia brings it to the House. And this coalition showing up, to me as an advocate, is great. But Representative Sibilia, maybe if you could help me a little bit, brief your colleagues or your community, and then of course, Vicki and.
Sure. You know, what I think the thing that I most want the select board to know is I really believe that this was the right year to make this investment. We have never had as many advocates and as much energy as we do in the legislature. And it's also in many ways never been harder to pin people down because we're all remote. And so this additional capacity and ability to keep an eye on things and connect with folks is really, really critical this year. And considering, I think that we have some good momentum, that's helpful. Adam keeps referencing a coalition, which we are working with. Of other towns around the state. Dover has actually also joined that coalition, and they are doing some outside the building kind of pushing in, connecting to lawmakers, which is a helpful counter or pairing with this work. The S13 is in the House Education Committee, and we understand it's going to be starting to get some testimony on Friday. I am understanding that we have some folks that may be willing to help in that committee with some amendments. And there is another thing. Oh, I've been asked tomorrow to come and speak to the Social Equity Caucus between the House and the Senate around the fairness issue. They have an interest in getting more involved in pushing this. What else? I think we're going to have to push all the way to the end, connecting with, you know, we're in the House now. So, you know, you have an engaged House member, but continuing to really push this issue, I think, is important, and working with this coalition, which I think Mark can talk a little bit about what they're doing. He's been working with them. I have been pretty clear that we need to suspend the excess spending penalty this year. Dover is going to be hit by that. We had an amendment that went to the floor. The Kingdom, Northeast Kingdom, one of the Northeast Kingdom reps spoke pretty strongly also about the impacts that they are facing this year. And at the end of the day, we have folks that understand that fixing the weights means that their overweighted districts who have benefited from this system will have to either change their spending or change their spending or pay more in taxes. And that is really why the categorical aid comes into play here. So if we don't have to fix the system, if we don't have to fix the weights and how we distribute pupils across the state, if we can just throw money at the neediest kids, that will allow the overweighted districts to continue to spend and provide some temporary relief to underweighted districts. But as we know, those types of, first of all, that doesn't actually create equity. It doesn't fulfill Brigham. But second of all, those types of temporary Band-Aids, we know can be frequent targets. So I want to thank you, Select Board, for, I feel like Lucy with the football, but we really have been pushing this issue for a number of years. And I feel like this, this additional capacity is it's the right capacity, it's at the right time, and it's partnering with the rest of the state. And so I think I'll leave it at that.
Mark, do you want to talk about the coalition?
Sure, I'll talk a little bit about it. Right now, we're made up of 14 boards from all walks of all corners of the state. We're in the process of making a push to increase our numbers. I've been in touch with a number of select boards and with school boards. In fact, I'm meeting with 2 of them tomorrow night to try to bring them on board. And we're tooling up for a push with the House to not just push S13, but really push H54, Laura's bill, which is the actual implementation. It's been good. I mean, we've got a good core group of probably 10 to 15 board members that are working really hard, and a couple dozen other members that are kind of on the periphery, but join in when they can. And we've got a website now, which I put together in 2 hours, so it's not that great, but it's okay. And we're starting to make a push onto social media. And like I said, we're just tooling up for this push the next few weeks.
Two other things I would add. VLCT, I know, is communicating with House leadership and Senate leadership about their desire to see action on the weighting study and on the tax commission report. And the second, Mark, I don't know if there's anything official yet, but there are some of the larger communities that are involved in the coalition, I think, have been working on passing resolutions or something along that line. Yeah. Yeah,
the Burlington City Council, there's a resolution in front of them. I don't know what the status of that is right now. I think it's probably coming up for a vote pretty soon. Maybe Adam knows. I mean, that's the only one that's really getting pushed to an administrative body at this point. There's been some outreach to the few mayors in the state. Excuse me, a couple of select boards, but mostly school boards.
Okay, just 1 second. I need to call the Dover Select Board to order at 6:20. I'll back it up a little because now we have a quorum. So I just want to get that on record that we're now officially in a meeting. Okay. What else do we have? What else can we do for you guys to help you in any way? Laura, Adam, Mark, what do you want? What would you like that we could do to support you?
Well, I'll go first, which is to say that there's really 2 parts to it. It's going to be more of what we've been doing, but in the next steps, which, when we boil down what your effort is, it's 3 main things. 1, our work trying to coordinate communications so they're directed, timely, and impactful. And then there's those communications themselves from you into legislative committees, so I could anticipate testimony. That's direct answer number 1. And then number 2, we'll have another round of external affairs where we will want our mid-April round of op-ed or the next chapter in the story that we will tell, and some from among you or all of you, we would want to speak with into that moment, to because narration is advocacy in the state of Vermont, and you tell your story or it does not get told, or someone else will tell it. And in this case, we're the proponents of change. So, you know, what we've been doing with Representative from the beginning is January, February, March, April, May, you know, we're communications folks. And so next up, Vicki, is going to be some legislative communications, possibly some testimony and some external affairs about your community story and reflecting on where we are when the House is nearing its next action.
Right. I'm not sure how else, what else I could ask you to do. Again, what you have done is really important. I have been going really hard. And so when you go that hard, sometimes you get noses a little out of joint. So it's helpful to have other friendly faces helping and helping to coordinate. So both Necrason's efforts and the coalition's efforts are really helpful in that regard. And I intend on continuing to go really hard because, you know, our district is going to be hurt again, as are other kids in this state again this year because of inaction. So.
Yeah, two more things, because you got to understand, I am an unending fountain of ideas for action. One is, you know, Senator Ballant, the pro tem of the Senate from your community, on some levels really prioritize this issue to pull it out from what was pretty murky waters and allow Senators Baruth and Campion the space to make the run at this that they did. And so, you know, you're part of the state communicating, you know, appreciation for her leadership in that regard is appropriate and is going to play through, because the likely scenario is that 12 months from now is when we're bringing this to a super head, and your community, you know, and the pro tem are very meaningful in that regard, as is Senator Campion. So the southern part of the state right now has, you know, a lot of significance in this conversation. So those are relationships and those are leaders. Senator Campion did work hard to spring this up and get it going. Is it what the coalition and we would want now? No. But are we in the business of making change and it's a path forward? And yes. And so I would just identify those two leaders as having really come through and stepped up a little bit in a difficult environment, I would say. So, and then the coalition is worthy of your support and investment. I know a lot about coalitions. You won't be surprised. Many multi-clients for decades of this work, nearly every facet of Vermont's change I've been an invisible witness to it. This coalition is coming together and it's meaningful, and it is the future, and you kind of seeded it starting. And so I credit it and would encourage continued commitment.
Hey, Vicki, can I make a quick comment?
Of course.
So I got to say, you know, we've been fighting this forever. You know, we starved Act 60 out, so we got changes. And, you know, I can remember always telling Laura, be careful what we wish for. We just might get it. And, you know, we wished Act 60 to change, and it got worse with Act 68. And we spent a lot of time and effort. You remember when you were on the board, Vicki, with us, that, you know, trying to make change. And, you know, it was that battleship that, you know, takes forever to turn on. It doesn't turn on a dime. And then I got to say, Adam, you guys, I think, have been fantastic. The stuff we've seen, we would never, in the past, it was hardly ever this good, or we would get this much impact. And I think a lot of that's on you guys too. And I would really, you know, when Vicki, you say, what else can you do? You know, I think keep working with Adam and his group, and, you know, let Mark and Laura do their things, you know, with the different groups. And I think, you know, for the first time in a long time, I feel like we're going to see some really meaningful change. And, you know, and a lot of that, Adam, is on you and your group. And I really appreciate it. You explain things well. You make a lot of sense. I wish we'd been working with you, you know, when we first started all this. We may not have to be here now. So thank you. And thank you, Vicki, and the select board and the town for really working with the school and, you know, to really move this forward. You guys are all doing a great job. And I always say, when we all pull in one direction, we'll go somewhere. you know, we're all going in different directions. We go nowhere. So, you know, everybody's doing a great job, and thank you.
And Vicky, along those lines, one last thing that I would add, which is really hopeful for me and has inspired me, and that is both being on the floor and hearing someone that is not me standing up and righteously making the case for our kids on this issue, being in the rural caucus and having someone stand up and speak righteously to correct someone else about this issue. We've got a number of strong leaders who are engaged on this, which really gives me a lot of hope. So,
Great. Thank you, thank you. I know this is a lot of hard work, and I'm the most encouraged I've been in many, many years. So
same.
this is encouraging.
Same.
Anybody from the public or the board have any questions of Laura, Adam, Mark, Richard, anybody? Well, thank you all. Thanks for the update. Thanks for the nice written report. It was useful, and it was good to hear some other testimony. What's going on?
We'll be back in a month. Well, I'll visit with you after the session, and we'll figure out from there. And in the meantime, you know, Vicky is our leader, and a lot of collaboration with Representative Sibilia. And thank you, Amy, for your work. Just credit Amy on the way out here, because going into this data, it's tough in there. You get down into this data, it gets murky and it's hard. And, you know, Amy really helped us see, well, where schools and lawmakers, and it all lined up, and it made it all come to life. And so good work, Amy, as we're on our way out. Thank you, Vicky. And I think you're saying sign off.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Laura. Thank you,
Thank
Mark.
you, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's 6:30, and we can start the regular part of our meeting. Jeanette, are you good? Do you know who everybody who's on? I don't know who everybody who's on because I can't read from across the room. So who's on the phone?
Oh, that's it's Jim McDevitt. He emailed me to tell me it was him. So thanks, Jim. I think we know everybody else, right? Yes.
Michelle's pad.
Michelle, I think that's Michelle Pinkham, I believe. If she wants to say hey.
Yes, yes, it's Michelle Pinkham.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello, good evening.
Okay.
And Richard is one, right? Okay.
Oh,
The other one over. Who's the first? Paul Fisher. Okay. So tonight is our first opportunity to have the board in person. Except Joe, you're still in San Francisco. And we have Tabby here at the controls. So the TV is across the room from me. I can see faces and recognize them, but and I can read names, but I can't figure out telephone numbers. So if you want to say something and you're not on video, you have to raise your hand, and Tabby will let me know that I have to recognize somebody, okay? So everybody, please speak up, wait to be noted, and raise your hand if you're not on, if you're on video, raise your hand too, but raise your hand. And if you're not, okay, that's fair. And if you're not on video, please say who you are when you start speaking. With that, welcome to the Dover Select Board on April 6th. We have a packed agenda, and so I'd like to stay on task as much as possible. We are done with item number 1. So do we have any public comments this evening?
Yes, Rich Kaplan here.
Rich, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes.
How is it? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I can see you too.
All right. All right. You have the floor.
So I was contacted this weekend by somebody that is interested in putting mini storage in town. And he was asking about the parcel that Philip Waller has for sale. And I know that the town has kind of on and off been looking at that. So I guess I just want to kind of throw my 2 cents on the table. When the town bought Eddie Barber's piece on Country Club Road, I felt they overpaid for it and it all cost too much, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I totally ate crow on that. I think it was the best use of money the town has done. The park is awesome. It's always being used. That in conjunction with the Valley Trail. So regardless of what it costs to buy it, clean it up and put what we did there, you know what, it doesn't matter because in 10, 25, 50 years, when we're all gone, that park's going to be there and it's awesome. Okay. So in regard to Philip's piece of land, it's on the Valley Trail. I think that it would be a great asset to the town if we were to buy that and put some sort of I don't know, we don't want to replicate what's there, but have a picnic area, have a place that on weekends, I just went dark. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Have a place, Memorial Day through Columbus Day where crafters could come in and set up, where where a farmer's market could be set up, place to eat, tables on the river, have food trucks, nationwide have become extremely popular. And we see that what the food trucks are doing in the Valley. I think some restaurant owners would poo-poo them. Well, I'm not going to be one of them. Okay. We could have, they have these truck rallies, these food truck rallies in different places now, and it attracts, lots and lots of people. So I just, I don't want to sell it to this guy that may want to do mini storage there. I want to make a push right now for the town to buy it. And I think we could do something great that'll be an asset for generations to come.
Thank you for your input. Tabby?
The mini storage units and storage units.
Whoa.
Whoop.
We're not gonna, you talk to me.
Oh,
And I was just gonna tell Rich, thanks for the input.
Mhm.
It is certainly on our radar. Eric's on it. And we will be discussing it at a later executive session.
Yeah, and Tabby, I didn't need you to say whether it could be done or not. I just, I don't, as much as I want to sell the property and I want Philip to sell it, I think that it would be the best thing for the town to have it. And my 2 cents are on the table and I don't need more of a response than that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Richard.
All right, I know you got a big agenda, so I'm gonna sign off. Have a great night. Happy spring. We'll see you all around the Valley.
Thank you. I have a hand up. Is that another Richard?
That's Rich Warner.
Rich Warner.
Hey, I just wanted to, I didn't have this in time to get it on the agenda, but Mount Snow wants to rebuild the garage that burned down a few years ago. We asked to do an MIQ for that because they were under the impression that we still meet weekly, or the officers meet twice a month for the fire department. I did speak to the board chair and we did do an approval for the stormwater because that's not a major part of the, usually when we review the MIQ, but we are going to meet with Mount Snow about the new building on April 12th at 5 p.m. I've sent emails to Randy as the police chief to, not Bobby Holland anymore. The road commissioner, I sent one to Shelley is the 911 coordinator and the fire department. And I just wanted you guys to know, and I believe I sent it to Sarah as she's my liaison.
I did get it, yes.
And I think, Vicky, I also always copy you as the chair. But anyways, it's 5 o'clock. So if you folks have any input on that, please let me know ahead of time. And Randy said he may not be able to make it, but I did talk to him, so I know what his concerns are, what his issues are. And I just want to bring that up. Thank you.
Sarah, could you repeat the date of that meeting, Richard?
Yeah, it's April 12th. It's next Monday. It's like somewhat 7 days, 5, whatever Monday is, 6 days.
Yes,
Thank you. Thanks, Rich.
sorry,
Anything else under public comment?
absolutely perfect. Yeah,
Philip? Yeah. All right. Nothing and seeing nothing else under public comments. We're going to move under new business. We're going to look at the library trustee appointment. So we have a letter from Ed Berkman that says, in my letter dated February 14th, 2021, I indicated that Joe Levy had indicated a willingness to replace Kevin Stein on the Dover Free Library Board of Trustees. Subsequent to the letter, Joe has received consideration. Dover resident Susan Rand has expressed an interest in taking Kevin's spot on the board. She will submit her consent form in the near future for the upcoming town election. If you have any questions regarding Sue's qualifications, please contact John Flores at the library. Thank you, Ed Berkman, Chair of the Dover Free Library Board of Trustees. So Joe Levy, who we have previously approved to be appointed, is not going to take the position, and Sue Rand is their recommendation. Does anybody have any questions?
Do we
No.
appoint her? She's going to be elected in May. It's a month.
So, what's the board's feeling on that? Sarah has said, since the election is on May 18th, why are we doing this? Why don't we just put her on, why don't they just get on the ballot?
I have a comment that makes sense. I don't know why we have to appoint anyone in for a month and a half unless there's something that they need to address. They need that extra person to make I don't think there's anything urgent, is there?
Is there anybody on the phone? Excuse me. Is there anybody on the phone from the library, or is there any library trustees at the meeting? So the rest of the board hold and let Sue get on the ballot and run?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to pass over that appointment. Okay. DVFiber governing board appointments. We have 3 people. We have a voting member, first alternate, and a second alternate. Thank you, Ted. Right now, the representative is TJ Sibilia. The first alternate is Shannon Wheeler, and the second alternate is Diane McCormick. I've heard nothing to change the order that should be appointed, but we have to do this. They're 1-year terms. So
I make a motion
mhm.
that we approve, that we reappoint TJ Sibilia as the DVFiber governing board member for Dover, and that we appoint Shannon Wheeler and Diane McCormick as alternates.
Second.
Yeah. Any discussion? I'm filling out the paperwork, I'm sorry. And I'm gonna have to sign this, so everybody in favor of the DVFiber board as we have noted? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Moving on to the next order is to approve the town meeting warning for our upcoming town meeting, 2021 town meeting warning. I saw nothing that was missing. I saw nothing that was an error. Does anybody else have an opportunity to look at it?
I did. Thank you very much.
Okay. What's going to go in the town report? So I'll entertain a motion to have the board sign the 2021 town meeting, Town of Dover annual meeting warning.
Jeanette's got her hand up.
Jeanette,
Kind of, but actually it can wait till after your motion. It's just some information on the town report. So, but
So I move to approve, we move to sign.
everybody's gonna sign. I'll
Okay,
sign.
I move to approve the warning for the Dover Town meeting.
I cannot.
Dan seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Authorize Andy McLean to sign the Vail site agreement for town meeting. So the site agreement was,
Excuse, I'm sorry, Jeanette needs
oh,
to.
sorry.
Sorry, can I just interject before you go on? I just wanted to pass on a couple of things. The town report is almost ready to go to the printer. We hope to get it to the printer on Friday. So if anyone is looking to take a look at it, at the draft before it goes out, you're welcome to stop by the town office. And the warning that you just signed obviously needs to be posted by April 16th. So thank you for approving that. And that's all I got.
We've messed up the signature page. I want to be right for the town report. Could you print us off another one and run it up? Thank you. Okay. Yes.
Jeanette, did you get the letter from Efficiency Vermont from me for the town report?
Yes, I believe so.
And
I
the sec-
haven't finished going over it all, but I know I got your email. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I sent the corrected one.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I sent one and then I realized I'd made a mistake and sent a corrected one.
Yes, yes, I did see that.
Okay, good. All right.
Yes.
Okay, so, so Jeanette's gonna run us up a new sheet when she prints one off so that we can all sign it, because this is going in the town report and we need to make sure everybody's signature is on the right line. Okay, so that one's no good. So now, the site agreement for the town meeting that Vail requires, this is similar site agreement that we saw earlier when we were trying to do something else. So it's been run through our attorney already, and they filled it out with Andy's name in it, and so you just need to approve Andy McLean signing the site agreement for town meeting.
I move that we approve Andy McLean to sign the Vail site agreement for the town meeting.
Second.
Sarah seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Okay. That's it for new business. And I'm sorry, this is a little disjointed. There's a lot of stuff that's going on and we've been doing it very differently for a while. So bear with me tonight. Fire department, we have the appointment of Dave Sheldon to the assistant fire warden. I was just trying to get the right paperwork here. This comes from John Abel. He's recommending Dave Sheldon. For the recent passing of Leonard Hall, I would like to recommend the consideration in replacing him be given to David Shelton. Dave is a member of the Eastover Volunteer Fire Department for several years and has previous service with West Chesterfield, New Hampshire as an officer in their department. Having been affiliated with the New Hampshire department, he has been able to take advantage of national wildland coordinating group training not offered in Vermont, as well as gaining experience in a much more active wildland environment. I think Dave has a personality that allows him to interact well with others on a congenial basis and without compromising his willingness to withhold the governing statutes. He has on several occasions had the opportunity to show that he operates on principle, not favoritism. I think he would make an excellent replacement given his commitment, enthusiasm, and fire service and his knowledge. John Abel, Chief.
I make a motion that we appoint Dave Sheldon as Assistant Fire Warden.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have somebody on the iPhone with a hand raised.
That was me.
Richard,
That's me.
did we miss you?
I believe it's Travis.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I had my hand up before you guys voted.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did anybody check with the fire warden before we did that?
Well, that's a fair question.
And I wasn't aware that was happening. I just actually saw it a couple seconds ago because I couldn't find your agenda. I mean, I just think out of courtesy, Rick has been our fire warden for quite a while, and we've always tried to have one from each fire department. So I don't have a huge issue with it, but I think just out of courtesy, it would have been nice to talk to Rick first, and maybe John did. I don't know. John never talked to me.
Jeanette, can you reach out to John and see if he did speak to Fletcher?
Yes, I am not, I don't know, but.
I don't know either.
So.
I thought that there should have been, there was probably a conversation, but, okay. Well, we've approved him, so hopefully, he's not gonna have a problem with it, but, fair, and I'm sorry I missed you, Richard.
Fine, as long as I'm not late for food, I'm okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, for local, so we are gonna approve and sign the annual local emergency management plan. Richard, do you wanna talk to that, or is this Jeanette?
No, it's Richard all over.
Richard.
Yes, hang on one second. So you're okay with that? Okay, thanks. Okay. No, as long as you knew about it, thanks. Bye. Yeah, John had talked and Dave had talked to Rick about it a while ago. Rick was unaware it had been happening, so, but he's good with it. So I should have done more. I should have asked after Leonard passed away. So on the other thing for the emergency management, this is that same form we sign every year. They get after us, and we'll have to change it if whoever's running for select board this year comes off of it. But you know, I thought it was a little bit of kind of a pain in the neck to why they couldn't wait till May. But every time I got on a call and discussed that, I was pretty well poo-hooed. So my recommendation is just go ahead and sign it, and we'll change it if we have to, if there's changes after you guys reorganize. It's usually set up so that it's done, you know, usually you have a meeting in the beginning of March, you reorganize sometime in March, and then by, you know, the end of April, May 1st, it goes in. I don't think there's a lot of change coming, but, you know, it's hard to tell.
All right, so this is an annual document. It does have my name on it as select board chair, and so if I am, you'll just have to do a new one if I don't win the election in May. So I need a motion to approve the annual local emergency management plan and allow me to sign it.
I move that we approve the annual local emergency management plan and authorize Vicky Capitani to sign it.
Any further discussion on this? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That is all of that. All right, now we're moving on to highway, which is Travis.
Yep, I'm here.
I hear you. So we need to hire somebody.
Yeah, I'd like to just run the ad until the end of April. for Bill's replacement.
We don't need a motion on this, but is there any comments from the board? So I have no problem with this.
Okay.
I hear nothing negative from the board. Yes?
Jeanette.
Jeanette?
Yes, there's a copy of it on the table there. Is it possible we could, if you're all in agreement, that we could get it in this week's paper? Or is it too late?
Oh, well, you're asking the Valley News?
Yes.
Yeah, I can probably get it in for this week.
Okay.
That's what you thought. Is that what you?
Thank you. Yeah, I've gone and talked to Marco about it. He didn't seem that the financial issue was going to be a problem at all. So I just wanted the board's permission to run the ad. That's all.
Yeah, we need to get that going, and hopefully you're working on the other thing we talked about with the.
Absolutely. Yep.
So can somebody email that to me?
Yes,
Thank you.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Here we go. One of our favorite things, KAS, and the water issues at.
Our town common.
Yeah, at the common. They have presented a proposal to do an alternative analysis report for the water system and hopefully come up with some effective, cost-effective remediation and replenishment of the water system proposal. Did everybody on the board have a chance to look at this?
Yes, I do.
Unfortunately, we did. I did.
I have a question.
Okay, Dan.
The question is, it's $5,690 for an alternate analysis report, and it's not really spelled out what they're doing for $5,600.
I cannot hear what you just said, Dan.
So Dan is questioning in that KAS proposal, the $5,690, the alternatives analysis report. And he doesn't know why what's really spelled out. I'm assuming it's something that has to go to state standards. But Jeanette, can you give us some other update on that?
Yes. The reason that we need to go forward with this alternatives analysis is in order to get financial assistance for some of this work that's being done. The state is requiring it basically. Without this alternatives analysis report, we would not be eligible for any financial assistance to help with this PFAS contamination.
Much more why we have to do it than what it actually is.
So just if I could speak too on it, I did speak to Jeanette about it, and not too lengthy, but it is a little frustrating because obviously we've been going through with this, and hopefully they come up with the fact that we can just treat the water as opposed to putting another well somewhere and finding out there's another problem. We don't drink the water up there anyways, and we haven't for I don't know how long. We supply drinking water, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to treat and they'll come up with a good solution. But as I did talk to Jeanette about it, in order for us to get or recoup any money back from all this stuff, we have to do what the state tells us to do. So it's very frustrating. I understand with Dan saying that, but I talked to Jeanette about it, and it makes sense. Unfortunately, we have to go the way they tell us to, and hopefully we'll get some reimbursement once they tell us how to move forward next or give us a recommendation.
Dan?
You also stated in the report that we did a lot of the work already. Of course, I don't know how we get a credit for it.
I think some of the things we did were good things to see what's available, but that isn't solving the problem, because if we just build another well, it may be contaminated as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So, They're engineers. They seem to do a good job for us. I don't have a complaint about how they have proceeded so far and other things like the landfill. Anybody else have any other comments about the KAS proposal? So does somebody want to make a motion to have us, have me sign the agreement, the authorization for the KAS, for the engineers alternatives analysis report?
I move
So moved.
Oh,
okay. I second.
Any further discussion? The total expenditure projected and estimated by them on this is $9,750, just FYI for everybody out there. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
No,
I didn't go through enough yet. Is that gonna mess things up?
no, you can abstain. So, did you get that? 4 yeses, and Scott is abstaining.
Okay.
Okay. All right, okay, economic development, good, somebody else can speak for a little bit.
We'll try to get through this stuff as seamlessly as possible. So we're going to start out with the revised applications for the 2021-22 DASP Do It and the DCSIP signage program. You guys, oh, sorry.
Just the highlights of the changes from 21 to 22, because I have a lot of paper here, so.
Yep. Shannon, do you mind taking that over?
So for all three, most of the changes are only in formatting and updating the dates, just to try to keep everything the same as we move forward. DASP, the only change was adding business cards to the list of submissions we wouldn't accept. That came up once or twice this year. For Do It, the only change was clarifying language on the maximum grant payout. Some applicants last year were a little confused as to what that was. So it was just stating that plainly as 4,500. And then for signage, it was just changing the format and total. That one never got updated last year because it was new.
Oh, wow.
So that's it.
Nothing really substantial, just clarification and updating.
Correct.
Does anybody have any comments about these three programs? Yes.
In looking at the applications, I'm sorry, I can't seem to pull it up right now, but there's boilerplate language about not funding anything of a religious nature. The sign program, that probably isn't an issue, but the other, to do it, we have in the past actually helped pay for paving, I think, in front of the church. So what I'm saying is the application should be revised to reflect what we're doing, which is that as long as it's not specifically religious in nature, that we will consider applications from religious organizations. Like, we won't put up a big sign saying pray to Jesus, but we because the facade of that church is a big part of the appearance of the town. And so I think that the application should be worded in such a way that is clear that is permitted.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we're automatically giving them the money, but it opens that door and makes it clear that we would consider it.
Right. So that language predates me, but I would think that the wording of proposals that promote religion or an individual doctrine would be ineligible, but other items coming from fraternal or church groups would be okay.
That was clear.
is how I interpret that.
Okay. Okay. Okay, okay. Any other comments about the 3 programs? Okay, I think you guys are good to go with those.
Perfect.
Thank you.
2021 concert season contracts. Were you guys able to review those?
Yep.
Thoughts, questions?
I can go first. I'm not a proponent of when we cancel an event that the band would still get paid half the money. I would propose that we would have some sort of rain date where we would get some sort of performance out of the bands. And I know that, I don't know what you talked, but I just talked to a couple different promoters, and normally the band never gets paid unless there's a rain date. And for some reason, if there's a rain date that they can't make, or it's another rain date, then they would get paid. It seems like it's just, I just don't agree with giving money for no performance at all. So that's my only take. I don't know what the other board thinks about it, type thing.
Okay, Sarah?
I think I agree with Joe in the sense that particularly if the control over the cancellation is on them. And if they are in the position of saying we are going to play, they shouldn't then be able to collect money. If we cancel, that's a different story.
Well, it's kind of stated that it would be the promoter.
Joe?
It would be the promoter that would decide on his end whether to cancel or not cancel, not the town. By what the weather is by a certain date, if you read through it. So it's not up to the town to decide, it's up to the promoter and his communication with the band. Not so much, I don't think, with us, but maybe with us, that would be Shannon and Eric, not the select board person. So I don't know, I guess, Eric, can you talk to us? Was this something that your person that you're using wanted to do it that way? Or is this something you guys, I guess, help me out with it?
I think oh, sorry.
Dan has had his hand up before Joe
Oh,
went.
sorry.
Sorry.
You
I
guys
couldn't
have,
see his hand.
please, it's get very complicated.
Typical in entertainment, that people are paid a kill fee, but the kill fee is based upon when it's killed. So for example, if it's the day before and they're not traveling here, then they're not entitled to it. But if they come here and it rains, they should be paid a kill fee.
That makes them, can I put my hand up?
Yes.
They would definitely know before they have to travel here. I don't think we have any bands coming from over 5 hours away.
Eric, you want to speak to this, or Shannon?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Shannon, do you want to?
So there's 2 things happening here. You know, last year and this year, we no longer have an adjacent rain backup. There used to be the tent that we used to use next door. That's no longer an option. Right now, the challenge without that close by backup is the logistics of when are these decisions made and how do we get people there? And do we want to have some sort of backup? At this point, Kevin is having a hard time. He will not be able to book these dates, I don't think, unless we have something in there for a cancellation fee. So things that I've looked at, concert contracts I've looked at, this seems fairly common as a 50%. I did specify some times because I think that's important. And I did sort of put that on Kevin's shoulders in this language because we can't, Eric and I can't be there every day with them, and Kevin has to be there anyways. So I think if you don't want to do that, if you keep insisting that we don't pay these bands if there's a cancellation, I don't know that we're going to be able to keep booking the successful groups that we've had. I think they are owed something for taking that date out of their calendar. And it's not their fault that we don't have a suitable backup spot that's nearby. So that's my ideas, and that's where we've come from this. And I'm hoping that we can get a fair agreement for everybody, so that we can get these dates set in stone.
Sarah,
Is there a way that if the cancellation happens more than X number of days ahead of the date, that fee be reduced?
No.
Like if we have a situation where we know a hurricane is coming. So we know 4 or 5 days in advance or 3 days in advance that it's highly unlikely that we're gonna be able to have it. We pay the same amount as if they cancel that day because the thunderstorm is rolling.
Dan?
We had some real success when we did it on Wednesday instead of on Sunday. So maybe we could proviso in the contract that if it's not on Sunday, we'll pull them over to Wednesday to do it if there's a cancellation.
I like the idea of that. I think the challenge is we already have scheduled Wednesday events. I just don't know. Our season's not long enough. I don't know if we'd be able to guarantee enough rebooks to make that work. But I like the thought of trying to get them back. Last year was different, and you know, the couple that we did have, we were able to get somebody back at the end because our season was so short, but we're hoping that this year it's a normal length and booked season.
Any other comments? I'm pretty happy with the changes personally. I think that it's shored up some of it. I agree. You and Eric cannot be there. We're paying Kevin to do this. And
Correct.
So he should make the call. He's got to be there to help set up. So I think that it is too bad we don't have a rain location. That was very convenient and we didn't have any concerts canceled, but that's not today's reality. And I think it's important to have a concert series this summer. So, where do we go from here?
Excuse me, Vicky, Eric has his hand up.
Eric.
So I think, you know, knock on wood, this only came up, what, one time last summer. So realistically, you know, hopefully we don't have to worry about this clause at all. You know, secondly, I mean, as far as like a backup spot, we considered, you know, a number of available spaces, but the logistics behind moving, you know, getting people to go to those spaces, should the original concert be canceled or moved. And plus, I know the governor is super optimistic, but we were also super optimistic last summer and fall about how open everything was going to be. So there's still a lot of guidelines that would have to be followed there. So, you know, under Rich's tent, that was a great spot. It was open. It was still technically outside. There, you know, regulations were a lot looser there. But, you know, even every other spot that we looked at, there's just really not enough space to accommodate. You know, basically, if we did move to any of those other spots, we'd be holding a concert for 6 people indoors somewhere.
Any other comments? Scott.
Just a thought, I don't know, like, I don't know how much we need to like beat on this, but everyone's so used to Zoom things, I don't know, if they can't do it, is that like out of the realm to ask like some Zoom concert? I know that's been more of a norm or more accepted. I don't know if we even need to go down that rabbit hole, but it might be some alternatives that we feel like we got something for our whatever, you know, for our $300. That there's a Zoom performance that they can, watch.
Well, if they do a performance, they're gonna want the whole thing.
Okay.
So you're gonna be paying the entire fee for 6 people potentially. But it's a good idea. I mean, if we do that, but.
Hopefully we're past that, but.
I think these bands wanna come back here and I think they'll work with us too. And I think that we should put our best foot forward and go and hope we have great weather all summer long, because we all want it. So if I don't hear anything else, I'm gonna say that the board's given you our feedback and run with it.
Thank you. Okay. sorry, go ahead, Vicky.
I'm just trying to catch up to where we are on this.
Valley Trail.
I know. Valley Trail, A-, Fuss and O'Neill.
Okay, so last Friday, I had Shannon send with the rest of the documents, the proposal we received from Fuss and O'Neill, who is the municipal project manager that the Trails and Recreation Committee chose to represent us as the municipal project manager on the Valley Trail A- project. Excuse me. So as you can see throughout the proposal, I mean, they're dealing with basically everything at this point. We kind of hand the keys over to them and they take it all to the finish line, including you know, getting the rest of the easements, well, all of the easements at this point taken care of for the project, all the way down through completion of said project. So you'll look, they have it broken down by task 1, task 2, task 3 in terms of costs for the project. And then on the final page of the proposal, you will see the total estimated fee for them to manage this project for us. You know, again, if this had been a project that had continued through, you know, it's from its origin, we may not be dealing with this. We may have been able to do it in-house. I think Steve had been looking at it, you know, and may have even had the qualifications to manage the municipal project. But just since the project started, the rules with VTrans have changed so much that this is basically a requirement for us to complete the project at this point. So this fee right here would not be covered by the grant money that was given to us by the state. But as we discussed, I believe when we first started talking about the municipal project manager, we had agreed in the beginning to be paying consulting and engineering and all the excess fees, so that grant we got from the state went entirely to the building of the bridge and trail. So that's why, you know, this number here would be coming out of our pocket.
That number, if I'm reading this correct, is $31,465.71.
That is correct.
Oh. Okay. So do we have any questions about this, Eric or Shannon, or comments from the public? So we're going to need a motion to have, do you want, I think I should sign this probably, Eric.
Yep. If we pass it, yep.
The Fuss and O'Neill engineer proposal. Yeah, municipal project proposal. Yes, Eric.
I did just want to add, so this is solely for the management of the project, okay? I have also reached back out to Lamoureux and Dickinson, who are, as they put it, blowing the dust off our stack of files and, you know, taking a look at everything that they had done for us. This was a long time ago, and they had basically put it into their archives thinking it was never going to happen, but they will be sending me a new agreement in terms of, you know, finishing the engineering to the DOT standards and then providing that to Fuss and O'Neill as part of this process. So there will be an additional cost from Lamoureux and Dickinson as well for the remainder of the engineering. I don't have, he didn't give me, he's going to send me a new agreement, but I don't have any, I don't even have a ballpark at this point.
So, Eric, so we're going to get that. So it's not going to be shovel ready for this year then.
I would like to see it that way. It just depends on how fast Lamoureux and Dickinson can move. And honestly, if we're not already on the VTrans schedule, then it's going to be tougher. But I'm doing what I can.
Are we on schedule for this year to get funding for this?
The funding isn't going anywhere, right? So because I've taken this step to secure our municipal project manager, our contact at the state is happy that the project is moving forward. Therefore, the funds are still there for the project.
Got it.
He assured me that as long as the project continues to move forward, we are not threatened with losing those funds.
There. My last conversation with Ross was basically that we shouldn't expect it to happen this year.
Yeah, like I said, I think the schedule, you know, with VTrans and whatnot is will dictate that, you know, we're a little late to the party on this one. But that being said, I mean, we could have everything lined up to actually be, you know, first in line or close to it next year. If we if we get moving on it, you know, it's just it's been around for so long, we've been dragging our feet. This is literally the biggest step that we've taken towards the completion of the project in a very long time. So these are things we have to do, and we will, you know, we'll do it as fast as we can with the right people.
Right. I mean, I think we definitely got to try to forge through. And I know Sarah said not this year, but if we could, just because I know we got a bridge to deal with, you know, that could be something that could be done this year, and then the rest of it connected next year or something, possibly. So, you know, it's not a huge bridge, but I don't know what it takes to make a bridge across a river these days.
I think once we, sorry.
It's simply the logistics of getting through all of the hoops that have to be gotten through before they can start the project. So I agree with you, but I don't think that it doesn't seem realistic from the conversations I had with this guy that we would get anything actually shovels in the ground this summer.
Okay, so let's get this process moving, if that's what the board wants, and have a motion to sign the Fuss and O'Neill proposal.
I move that we authorize Vicky Capitani to sign the Fuss and O'Neill Municipal Project Management Proposal for Valley Trail A-.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. So that's signed and sitting here in this pile of stuff that has signatures.
Perfect.
All right. Village Center.
Okay, so we are literally almost at the finish line with this entire process. The longest piece here was working with the contact at the state about our village center designation in Westover, and the fact that our 2010 map was easily, I think he said 6 times bigger than any other designation that they had given in the state or something like that. So basically the East, you'll see the 2021 map for Eastover mirrors the map that was used in 2020 and 2010 for the village center designation. So that is exactly the same, starting from just south of the post office, including the park, the fire station, and the church. So that map has not changed at all since 2010. However, moving to the Westover map, you will see from the maps that I provided, there is the 2010 map, which reaches from the post office all the way down to basically Door Fitch Road. Our new village center designation, and the only way I've been told that we're going to get this approved, the designation will begin at the bottom, well, you'll see just south of the town office, excluding any residential properties across the street, and starting at the Historical Society, and going as far north as the old North Building. It will cut back to exclude the property, the residential property across the street, but would include the Deerfield Valley Inn just on the other side of Valley View Road. So this designation is obviously a lot smaller than what we were dealing with previously. The explanation was given to me that since our application in 2010, and there is even some speculation that it was because our designation was granted so large that there was some changes made in 2013 about how large village center designations could be. They're really trying to, keep it to the historic center of the village for any respective town. The other thing that they're trying to do is look at historical buildings, pretty much excluding any kind of, basically 1960s until now construction. So when you think about driving up Route 100 there, yes, there are a number of buildings throughout that would probably qualify, but in all reality, that construction is, post 1960 construction, further north than what we've discussed. So in talking with Richard Amori, who's the program leader at the state, he said, my board, my board's not going to approve this map. I tried fighting for it and explaining, well, the Valley Trail runs the entire distance and things like that. They just weren't, he was not having it. He said, my board will never accept it. He said, a much more realistic vision is to, and he did the Google drive-by, which in lieu of the physical drive-by, and he's explained that this historical village center here is what's going to be designated by his board as the village center. So this entire application will be brought in front of you guys at the next meeting because it needs to be approved at a public meeting, and then I will submit it on the first Monday of next month. I just wanted to give you guys the heads up that that map has shrunk considerably, so that when we do start to discuss it, you know, as the entire application, you're not shocked to see that our map has shrunk so much.
Thank you. Any comments? All right. 2020 events applications that have been postponed by COVID.
Okay, so we've had, and by we, I mean myself and Shannon have had internal discussions about how to proceed with event applications that were approved in 2020 and postponed due to COVID. Because of the clause in our events application, kind of barring, you know, any funding of an event less than 6 months prior to the event, you know, would not be approved. And this has led us to feel like if we are at a, you know, especially with the governor's comments today, that we, you know, by July 4th could be back in a little more normal times, it would be absolutely amazing to have some events within the borders of Dover, you know, throughout the summer and into the fall, those being the fireworks, the Blueberry Festival, the Wine and Harvest Festival. I believe Carnage Con had come back and talked to us about the potential of doing their event. So we were hoping that you would be agreeable to us allowing those events to continue in 2021 as they would have in 2020. Any major alterations I have explained to each of the applicants would need to be brought in front of you guys and approved before, you know, anything moved forward and we agreed to continue to sponsor the event. But I just was hoping to get your blessing to tell them that yes, we can continue with those events as close to normal as is possible with the COVID restrictions as we move forward.
So I have a couple questions about that. So how many of these events, I remember Carnage Con or whatever that is, we did postpone it. It did sound like a great event. We also said for the fireworks, we already paid the money, so that should be done. We also had the Old Home Week combination blueberry. We're funding a band for $2,500. What else and then we have Wine and Harvest, which we normally do. What else is there?
So there was Blueberry Festival and Old Home Week were actually two separate applications last year. And the only reason I know that is because I presented for Blueberry. So the Blueberry application was for the normal parade amount, but it was to run a block party from the length of the saloon parking lot up to basically, the gathering place and Betsy's. And that was, you guys had approved that. That money was not actually paid out. You were going to hang on to that until the event actually happened, but that event was approved. Yes.
Do you want me to read the list? Will that be better for you?
That would be great. Thank you, Shannon.
Okay. So the event applications that were approved last year, Old Home Week was for $1,500 for the bands. You approved that in February 4th, and they paid that back to us in June. Fireworks on February 10th, we did pay out $4,500. Wine and Harvest, we made the initial 75% payment in April of $6,375. The Blueberry Parade event was approved in April for $11,500, but we have not paid anything. And then Carnage Con, they were approved for $10,000 on April 7th. I actually just got their new application 2 hours ago because they will be outside of that 6-month mark. So I knew they had time to apply again. And there looks like a smaller event. So that's what you approved last year, and we're hoping that they all happen. but that gives you those details and helps Eric a bit.
Thank you.
A couple of those already in the bank in terms of the money's already been expended. So we don't have that much on the payout on the rest of them necessarily. Does anybody have any problem proceeding with these events as Shannon mentioned for this year?
Nope.
No.
All in agreement, proceed with the events.
Excellent, thank you. And then just one more note that it was not available at the time of this agenda. I just wanted to give you all the heads up that Senator Bernie Sanders on Thursday is hosting a American Recovery Program, roundtable and Q&A with municipalities to discuss the funds that will be coming directly to municipalities out of the act. So if anybody's interested in that, I will send the board and I can share with Jeanette as well, but there's it's 11:45 to 1 p.m. on Thursday. Bernie Sanders will be doing that. So even if you want to listen in, it might be interesting information.
Great. Thank you, Economic Development Department. Now we need to go into the Board of Liquor Control. I move to go into the Board of Liquor Control.
Second.
And seconding. We have a first and third class license for Matilda LLC, DBA Betsy's Dots of Dover, and Alpine Kitchen, DBA Trail 87, 440 West Dover Joe's.
I make a motion to approve the first and third class licenses for Matilda LLC, DBA Betsy Dr. Dover, and Alpine Kitchen LLC, DBA Trail 87. Second.
Any discussion, Randy? Are we good?
Thumbs up.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we have outside consumption permits for Matilda LLC, DBA Betsy's Dots of Dover, Deerfield Valley Beverage Concepts LLC, DBA Deerfield Bar and Bottle, and Alpine Kitchen LLC, DBA 8 Trail 87, formerly West Dover Joe's.
I move to approve as read. Second.
Randy? Police chief's good. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. And a second class license for guest convenience stores at Inc. DBA 7-Eleven.
I move to approve the second class license for guest convenience stores, DBA 7-Eleven. Second.
Thumbs up. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to come out of the Board of Liquor Control.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have the consent agenda. We're going to approve the minutes of March 16th, March 22nd, and March 26th. And I'm not sure, sorry, 25th. Okay. I'm not sure if everybody was at all of those meetings.
Jeanette's got her hand up.
Yes, everyone was present for the March 16th. The 22nd, we were missing Sarah and Dan. And the 25th, we were missing Joe and Dan.
Okay, so we'll do each one of these individually.
Okay, so I'll move to approve the minutes of March 16th.
Sarah first, and then Scott seconded. Any errors, corrections, additions? Those are a lot. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Now we will look at the minutes of March 22nd, which was a special meeting to approve the purchase of the dump and plow for the truck. And, yeah, so, and Scott was there, yes? And can I have a second, Joe?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And 2 abstentions?
3 and 2, yeah.
3 out 2. Sarah and Dan are abstaining. And then finally, for the March 25th, which was the hazard mitigation 3¼ hour marathon.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of March 25th.
Second. Any discussion? Anybody want to go to that meeting again?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
I abstain.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Yes. So we have FYI Trails meeting next week, April 13th at 6:30.
You forgot the warrants.
Warrants.
Oh, the warrants, sorry.
So I make a motion to approve the warrants of March 20th for $203,313.63, and April 3rd for $108,465.40.
Anybody want a second? Dan, seconding. Did you get your question answered?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and I have my question answered too. It appears on ours, and this is something we should put in for, and I talked to Jeanette about it, that both the library building and the town hall are over on their gap, on their oil usage. So Efficiency Vermont needs to really look at those two
We
buildings.
are scheduling, I have sent Chuck Clarisi all of the paperwork that he has requested so far, and I'm waiting to talk to him to schedule a virtual walkthrough on all the buildings.
Great, and so hopefully we can figure out a way for NIDOS to have us just buy a bulk amount of gallonage, and it doesn't matter which building it goes to,
Right.
because we're getting charged almost double right now what our pre-buy was, so that's not what we want to do. So we have the end questions answered, and we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll go to FYI. Trails meeting, April 13th, 6:30 PM. Pre-town meeting, Tuesday, May 11th at 6 PM. Southern Vermont Economy Summit online, May 12th through 14. There are tickets, and if any select board members want to attend, the town, I'm sure the town will pay. I know the Economic Development Department is going, right? Town meeting is Tuesday, May 18th at 10 AM at Corinthia. We will also have probably a reorganizational meeting on Wednesday, the 19th at 6:30 PM to reorganize, unless we change that date, but we'll have to have a reorganizational meeting, so lots of meetings. And then the River Valley School District meeting is in Wardsboro at 10 AM on Saturday, the 22nd. So May is gonna be jam-packed with meetings.
Do we have a location for pre-town meeting?
And it's gonna be, we're working on that, probably town hall.
Right.
Right, Tabby? Okay, do we have any liaison reports? Scott?
This actually might be pertaining to the oil usage. The library had like a, let's say it was just a big crack or something. They were worried about the structure, and so that might have been like out heat or whatever, but that got fixed. Dave and Travis were on it, and that's all fixed up. But I just wanted to bring that to the attention that they were concerned about structural damage, but they looked at it and everyone seems to be happy now.
Okay. Any other liaison reports? Okay, and do we need an executive session tonight? I am not aware of one. Okay. Hearing nothing, I'd like to adjourn this meeting at 7:37. Thank you all.
Aye.
Good night.